Well, if you're just to wake you right up.
He's yawning. Yeah. It's the end of that. It's the chain reaction. Get you enough thing to watch the Eagles game.
Oh, yeah. All my kids, they get stay up. They don't work cool.
There you go. I can't stay up for those late games. Or halftime.
Halftime.
Well,
It doesn't matter, winning, losing.
it's about my limit.
I care, but not enough to be.
Yes.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Michael, Davey, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Can you give us a little 1, 2, 3 count?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
There's an echo on it.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. I didn't get that far yet. That's going to be one of the switches here.
You guys didn't know Bill was a DJ. He's very good at this.
All right, I think. We're good here.
Thank you. Is there any echo on this? No? Okay.
Yeah.
How about now? Echo? Sounds good to me, right? Faint echo? Okay. Yeah. Michael, can you hear me okay? Or is there echo?
Yes, I can hear you.
No echo?
No.
All right, cool.
No echo from his end either.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be annoying. Yes.
Ready?
Yeah, please start that. Okay, I'll go ahead and get the meeting started. I have 6:31. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'd like to disclose that we have a recording device here for the purposes of taking minutes. We're also streaming on YouTube as well, and the video will be stored on our YouTube account. I also have the notice of advertisement for the meeting up front as well. So I think what we're going to do is I'll do the presentation, and then I'm looking for the dialogue and comment from the board, and then comment and dialogue from the public. And then we'll go into motion if that's the way we decide to go. So with that, I'm going to get up and get started.
Okay.
Hopefully you guys can hear that. All right, into the 2026 proposed budgets. You can go ahead to the next slide, please. All right, so this is just a reminder for everybody. These are the 6 different funds that the Board of Supervisors in the township manages. The top 4 funds are ones that you see on your real estate taxes through the millage. The bottom one is the trash fund. So if you're getting trash collection services from the township, then you'll be paying that $480.
I lost the audio on Zoom.
I'll try to keep going until you think.
It's back now.
Thank you. I might have been pacing. So liquid fuels money comes from the state collected tax revenue from gas and diesel and tires, and that gets matriculated back to the county and to municipalities. So our millage is in the center, and then our account balances on the right. You should look at, these are the projected account balances to start the year 2026. So we have a healthy 3.2 million in the general fund, but all of our other funds except for library have a little bit of reserve. And some of that is because we have increasing costs year on year, like our trash fund, for example. We have an escalated cost to operate the trash services. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a summary that was shown, I think, at the tax meeting that was in March of this year. But for the average assessed value for a home, for a parcel, it's roughly $380,000. If that was the assessed value of your home, your local tax would be $1,002. So that's inclusive of the $480 for the trash fund. So if you're not getting the trash service, then if that was the assessed value of your home, you'd pay about $522. So the general fund is where a lion's share of our expenses come out of, and then we have dedicated funds for EMS, and then lesser for fire, and then of course the library fund. Just a reminder at the bottom, again, if you don't get trash, then you're not paying that $480. Thank you. Figured we would try to get this out of the way now for the set the table, I guess, for the rest of the conversation. Will the taxes be raised in 2026? The answer is no. And is there going to be any new taxes introduced for 2026? The answer to this is also no. So we'll start with our largest budget, the general fund. The revenue, the budgeted revenue is roughly 2.4 million, with the expenses at 3.57 million for a preliminary deficit of 1.17 million. As compared to the 2025 adopted budget, we're projecting revenue to be about 8.5% less. However, our expenses are about 6.3% less, and our overall adopted deficit is 1.7% less. It says surplus there, but it's really a deficit. So our current adopted 2025 deficit is 1.189 million. And the surplus deficit projected for 2026 is negative 1.17 million. I think that, and there was discussion at previous meetings about where the original deficit number was, and through conversations with the supervisors and through the accounting team, we were able to claw back some of that deficit to get it down to that 1.17 number. I think that's a big number if this is the first time you're hearing that we were in a deficit, but the townships actually operated at a deficit for a while. So the adopted budgets, which are available online, they go back to 2017, and we can see that the fourth line, and I know the text is kind of small here, but the fourth line from the top is the net surplus and deficit. So it's pretty much zeroed out. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. It's pretty much zeroed out up until 23, 24, and 25, where you see a deficit, a small surplus, and then a very large deficit. What it somewhat underlies is this budgetary item called the carry forward balance, which is item 399000. And really what that is that's utilizing general fund reserves as in the revenue line to try to level set the surplus and deficit. So in prior years, if it appeared that they were going to go into a deficit, then they would allocate some of the general fund reserves as a revenue source to level that out. I'm personally not a big fan of that because I think it gets a little confusing about whether we're really operating in a deficit environment or not. Last year in 2025, for example, we could have had a carry forward balance of 1.189, and then the surplus deficit would have been zero. So if you took that out, you would see, at least from 2021 to 2025, we've been operating at a slight deficit or a great deficit. It's pretty much been consistent from 21 to 23. In 24, we saw it bump up a little bit, and then we saw a significant increase last year. The majority of that was increased payroll for our police. It's our largest staff resource by far, And there was a very big leap in the increase in pay for patrolmen and officers. And that's a big contribution to where that deficit was. So there's a difference between what we budget as our deficit and what the actual deficit is. And this is a kind of a confusing slide, so bear with me. Anything in blue is what the adopted deficit would have been without the carry forward balance. So we can see in 21, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the blue represents that we expected to be in a little bit of a deficit. However, we can see some years we operated with a deficit and some years we had a tremendous surplus. So sometimes it's difficult to factor in all the potential either income activity or deferred expenses that you might experience in a given year. For 2025, although we're not through the year yet, the anticipated deficit we think is going to be around $600,000. So our budgeted deficit, or I'm sorry, our adopted budget for 2025 is 1.189. We believe it'll be $600,000 at the start of the year. And for those folks that have that $3.2 million general fund balance to start the year of 2026 in their head, that is factoring in a $600,000 loss. So whatever the remaining 2 months of payroll are going to be and those outstanding bills, that's how the accounting team expects it to shake loose. So the question you would ask is, well, why is there such a big difference? I tried to list some of the potential reasons on the right. Number one is competitive bidding and budget shopping, right? So if we know we're going to make a capital purchase, we have a budgetary number and we're trying our best to beat that number. When we have an open bid environment, we're hoping that we're getting a lot of activity and competitive bidding, and it comes in under our estimated amount. Unrealized payroll has traditionally been a pretty big source of unrealized expenses. A big thing there is if we're budgeting a new hire, let's say for a 12-month period, and they don't actually come on until June, then we have 6 months of unrealized payroll that diminishes that deficit a little bit. Real estate transfer tax, that's a pretty big revenue source for us. Many years we're over $300,000 and some years we're under $200,000. It's really difficult for us to track. So if there's a lot of real estate activity, then we'll see a lot of additional income for that. And of course, grants, any grants that we get are going to help offset the costs that we would otherwise be paying. I think some of those big spikes that we saw in the 2020s, some of that's a product of the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we received. So we could use those funds as opposed to using our general fund. And then lastly is deferred projects. A great example would be if we're projecting a roof replacement. If we don't do that roof replacement calendar year, obviously that expense isn't shown. It doesn't mean we're not necessarily going to carry that account, that budgetary number for the following year, but it doesn't affect that budget, or it diminishes the deficit that you would otherwise see. So if you to identify what's really changing from the 2025 budget, thank you, Bill, appreciate it, to the 2026 budget, areas where we would look to cut back. Number one was grant writing. We had a $40,000 line item in the previous year. This year, I think we're carrying around $8,000, which is in line with what we spent last year. I think through talking to the supervisors, unless it's a very onerous grant opportunity, some of that can be self-performed, and we're going to save the most challenging ones for outsourcing. The police vehicle, that was originally in the budget, and then that got pulled out. We were able to utilize unrealized police payroll, unused payroll expenses from 2025 to purchase a vehicle in 2025. So that comes off as an item for 2026. And lastly, penetration testing. So that's cybersecurity. We're required to do that every other year. And so we're in an off year this year. So we're able to reduce some of our IT expenses this year. On the other side of the coin, where did we spend more money, or were we projecting to spend more money in the budget? Number one is the public works and township staff. So that's increased pay and also increased resources in these areas. Number two is Schaefer Preserve construction. So We'll have a Shaper discussion in a couple weeks from Chester Valley Engineers. But should this go through to permit and if permits are approved, there's a potential we would be constructing in 2026. And so this budget reflects an amount of money to accommodate that. The next one would be police payroll. Although it's not as large of an increase as it was in prior years, the fact that it's our largest staff resource, even the incremental increase it has an effect. For the highway department, we're looking at purchasing a piece of equipment, a front end loader, and that's split between the general fund and using liquid fuels money. And then like everybody else, our insurance costs go up here as well. That's not just for our general liability insurance, but also medical insurance for our employees and heart and lung for our officers. And lastly, code inspection services. That's one of those items where we budgeted consistently year on year. And last year we identified we had a pretty excessive spend because there was an increased requirement for code inspection. So we're increasing that line item accordingly. Again, if we're all still wrapping our heads around, well, how are we going to potentially pay for a deficit if we're not raising taxes? And the answer is, and I think, Peter, you worded it in a better way than I would, but it would be generally it's utilizing your reserve funds to compensate for whatever the overage is to balance that out. And if the question is, well, what's the reasonable amount of money to have in your reserve funds? The items I'm showing on here are really the minimums. So you're not going to want to get below these points. But the second class township code says 25% of your revenue, projected revenue. GFOA says 2 months of your expenditures. So the number on the left is revenue for 3 months, and the one on the right is expenses for 2 months. Me personally, I think, we really don't want to get below 1.5 million. I think that gives us a lot of runway, but this is why we feel confident we don't need to raise taxes this year. All right, so how does the money actually break down within the general fund? This is using the values that are in the full current proposed general budget. So if that were to change, then these numbers would change, but we have roughly 34% as police, followed 13% by public works, which is our highway group. Also takes care of our buildings and grounds. The next is our building and grounds capital expenditures, followed by township staff at 11%. 10% in other, and I'll show that on a separate slide. And then we really start to tick down with code enforcement, our fire hydrant insurance, our general insurance, our legal services, parks and rec at 2.3%. They're all kind of smaller tier items. And if we go to the next slide, these are the remainder of all the small items. So everything here is under 2.25%, but the font is small. So it's engineering, our auditors, general government, IT, tax collection, planning and zoning, general administration, and then our emergency management services and animal control. That's all of our budgetary groupings within our general fund. Because some folks here might be interested in what's going on at Schaefer as it pertains to the budget, not necessarily how the process is of when anything's going to happen, which we'll be discussing in a couple of weeks. There was information on the township website, and I'm not sure that this has replaced that yet, but we worked with the accounting department to get accurate information. So the total dollars spent to date to acquire and do some of the requirements from the insurance company and get the preliminary evaluations and engineering is about $750,000. Of the money that's been spent to pay for that, $687,000 have come from grants, and a little bit of that, you can see that ARP funds, that's not a grant, that was really an allocation by the board from the American Rescue Plan for $30,000.
Don't have where the cost of the inflation service is cost of living 54,000. That includes stuff.
So on the expense table to the, yeah,
577.
we.
It's small.
I did go table crazy, so I'm sorry for all the numbers, but I think what we're trying to illustrate here is that the total cost all in that's been spent is 750,000, and 687 of that did not come out of the general fund. So $66,000 did. So tax revenue from 2018 to 2025, $66,000 of that did come from the general fund. This, I guess, will get probably explained in greater detail by Chester Valley engineers, but they are anticipating the development cost to be roughly 1.3 million. So the table below is really our path, what we think to get there. The top three items, the 2024 grant, the recreation fee in lieu money, and the previous allocation of ARP funds that's remaining, that's all money that's already been earmarked or specifically designated for the project. And again, none of those funds would have come from taxpayer revenue. What we're proposing in the 2026 budget is the item in yellow. So $130,000 from the general fund for Schaefer Preserve development. That still leaves that shortfall at the bottom of $490,000. And there's a few different ways to get to that money. One is we have several grants that are already outstanding. And in fact, not that we would get them all, but if we were to get them all, we would have collected more than the $490,000 required. Also looking at county programs and partnerships with our county officials to see if there's an opportunity there, because we've seen the support to develop the preserve at the county level, and lastly, private donations. So not sure if and when construction would start and any of that. So it's really hard to determine where the funds would come from. And we have to wait and see where these grants are to kind of evaluate that further. That ends the discussion on general fund. Onto liquid fuels. I'm going to, thank you, no problem. So these are going to be more straight line. They don't have nearly the amount of items that can be utilized for this next few funds. Liquid fuels is really highway maintenance and repair, essentially. So we budget the revenue at 325,000 and the expense at 341,000, which is a deficit of 15,000 for 2026. As it compares to the year prior, we're about flat on the revenue. We're expecting to spend about 10% more. And this is a tricky one, the bottom one. In 2025, we budgeted and approved, we have an adopted budget of $15,000 in surplus. So adding that to the deficit, we have a $31,000 difference between 2025 to 2026. And this is how it kind of breaks down. So we talked about the front end loader. We're estimating it at 90,000, 30,000 coming out of the general fund and 60,000 coming out of liquid fuels. Our road construction budgeted estimate has been around $200,000 year on year. So we're holding that number. And then a couple other numbers to give you the flavor of what comes out of that fund is storm sewer maintenance and traffic signal maintenance. So for the trash fund, we're projecting a 1.267 revenue and 1.217 expense for a surplus of 49,000. It's essentially flat on our revenue. We expect the expenses to go up a little bit more. And our surplus is 45% less. So the reason for that is our agreement with Optinacker has yearly escalations. So every year we're in that 5-year agreement. They're charging more and more. But when we adjusted the rate to $480, that was with the anticipation that we started collecting like this and the increase went down and we're going to meet the middle after 5 years. Our newer fund, emergency medical services, revenue budgeted for 517,000, expenses at 493,000 with a surplus of 23,000 and change. This is 38.5% less than last year. And there's a reason for this. In 2024's budget, we allocated the remainder of our ARP funds for EMS into the general fund, it was around $315,000. Once we started a new fund in 25, we took that out and put it in the EMS. So our EMS fund was kind of preloaded with a $315,000 balance. We're not putting that in year on year. So there's clearly a drop in revenue. And there's also going to be a drop in surplus as opposed to the year before when we had an additional $300,000. But essentially, this fund is designed that the revenue is slightly higher than the expenses that our original agreement with Mainline Health was, because the way that contract is written is they have the opportunity to raise the premiums for us over that 3-year period. Into the fire fund, revenue 127,000, expenses at 63,000 for a surplus of 64,000. That's essentially flat across the board on revenue, expenses, and surplus. And again, for folks that aren't aware, the fire fund helps to purchase the fire apparatus, so the vehicles that the fire company utilizes. On to the library fund, 36,150 is the revenue, 36,000 being the expenses with a $150 surplus. Again, flat on revenue and expenses. We had an extra $1,000 of surplus in the prior year. That's not the case this year, so it's 89% less than the year before. But that's essentially a direct billing, and then we're cutting a check once a year to the library, Racial Cole Library. Okay, so what would happen next after this meeting? If after we had discussion, the intent is hopefully to approve the budget, and if so, on November 11th, the budget will be available for consumption by the public, both online or at the township office. If we're not able to come to a resolution today, we'll have to meet again, likely in November, to get a budget that does work, that we all vote in favor of, because the goal is to have a budget ready for adoption at the December 9th Board of Supervisors meeting. And that concludes the presentation. All right, so I'll just open up to the, oh, you know what? Go ahead, we'll get started. Okay, I'll question this. I do have one thing, and I was going to say this. In 2025's budget, the Board of Supervisors foregoed their salary. And part of that was we hadn't really seen a deficit like we had before to that extent. And board came together and said, hey, we'll forego that salary. The salary is included in this 2026 budget. It's $12,500 for the 5 supervisors. I'm only going to speak for myself. With a new board coming in, I didn't think it was appropriate to not compensate someone coming into a new board. That should be part of their choice. So for those reasons, I felt that it'd be included. It works out to roughly $50 a person per week for the 5 of us. So I say that out loud because I know that's not a universal opinion along the board. So, but that's where I stand.
I have a couple questions. Expenses in 405.130 payroll for administrative assistant. Last year we budgeted about 43,000. Projected budget for this year was 43,000. Projected budget of next year is 94,000. Can someone explain that increase, please?
Yes. I think in 2025, we had full-time admin assistant in 405-130 and a part-time assistant in 405-125. And this budget looks to hire another full-time administrative assistant in the township office. So I think that I don't have the exact number, Supervisor Davey. I think there was maybe 25,000 around that magnitude in line item 405-125.
20,800.
Yeah.
So the proposal is 2 full-time administrative assistants in the township.
Correct.
Does that explain the jump in 405, 197 for health insurance? Because
Well,
that
it's-
doubled.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. Give me a second. Sorry. Could you say that again, Supervisor Davey?
Sure, 105.197, health insurance and other benefits is projecting a more than, 200% increase.
So that,
100% increase.
yeah, that's one of the contributing factors. The other is we're paying more on the benefits if we're giving increases to the existing staff as well. So I think that was a calculation done by the accounting team based on the projected payroll for the township office.
Go down to section 409, 409, 400, and 409, 720. Both of them relate to Schaefer. The presentation just indicated that the capital contribution for Schaefer out of the general fund for 2026 would be 130,000, which was reflected in 409, 720. But in 409, 400, we have it looks like a $72,000 carryover balance from what we budgeted this year, but aren't anticipating to spend. So shouldn't the capital expenditure line for 409, 720 really be 60,000? If you're going to spend 130 on Schaefer, or you're really planning on spending 200,000?
We are projecting to spend 200,000.
So not 130.
The $72,000 under 409, 400 was the allocation from ARP. So
That's being
that
carried
money,
over.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's being carried over.
Yeah, I think, and the reason that it was separated, Supervisor Davies, there's a lot of sensitivity around these items, and I found it important to disseminate where it would have been general fund money from taxpayer revenue versus ARP money.
So twice as much taxpayer money than ARP funds.
Well, it's not coming from the local tax.
Well, everybody here pays tax, right?
Sure.
ARP money is taxpayer money.
No, there's
Yeah.
only one source of tax revenue. It's local. So there's no other taxes. 410, 113, payroll for the corporal and sergeant. Can someone explain the $60,000 increase? The budgeted $60,000 increase, considering when this year we're projected to be $20,000 under budget?
I don't have the 2025 in front of me. This is 410, 113.
In 2025 was budgeted as 138, 746. Projected to spend about 119,000 from my columns are a little bit off, but the budgeted for 2026 is 190,074 for that line item. I mean, we're having trouble filling shifts. Where's an extra $60,000 in payroll come from for 2 officers? 3 officers.
Yeah, all I know at first blush is that I think that there was I think it was $1.50 an hour increase over their previous rate. I'll have to look at the Excel table on that to determine how that grew, unless there was another person in that, unless there was another promotion.
I'm not aware of this board approving a promotion.
No,
So,
I
mean,
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know we approved some new folks in those roles, but
In the Excel table, it looks like what was it, 141, 954. I'm not sure where the budget is pulling that 190 from.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
I mean, especially because we're anticipating being $20,000 under budget this year. So, and that's an $80,000 swing, which again, considering we're creating a deficit here, I don't know why we need another $80,000 in the hole. Seems to be a little bit excessive to me and unnecessary.
Let's see 141. You have 141?
We want to 70. Oh, you know why? Because it's corporal and sergeant together.
Yep.
It's not, they're adding corporal and sergeant positions together.
Was there a
That's
separate,
correct.
was there a separate sergeant
There's
prior?
not.
Was there, had there ever been?
I don't think so, because we don't delete line items. If it was there, it would just show the zero if we weren't using it. It's like, but the lieutenant doesn't have the value assigned to it, so.
Does it have the projection for how many folks that is?
It does.
I'm sorry, I know you just.
No, I think it's 3 corporals and 1 sergeant.
Yep.
I'm not aware of ever having 3 corporals. Well, since when do we have 3 corporals?
Yeah.
You just swore
Just
2
the-
in.
Yeah.
My recollection is we've always had 2 corporals and a sergeant.
Michelle.
I mean, sort of corollary to this whole discussion is the next line item 410-130, where there's a $50,000 slated increase in payroll for the shift officers, but we're anticipating being $117,000 under budget because we can't fill shifts. I mean, we danced this dance last year where we did a significant hourly rate raise in the hopes of attracting more officers to run shifts. Obviously, that didn't work. So throwing more money at the problem seems to me to be a little futile. The admissions in the academy are down. Departments across the county are looking for and not being able to find police officers. Throwing more money at this when we don't have money to throw around seems to me to be poor budgeting. Because obviously we can't fill the shifts we have.
Yeah, I mean, this line item reflects fully staffed police force for the entire
Right.
year.
Correct. It reflects
That's
2
all.
officers on 24 hours a day, which for the past 2.5 years has been it's been a pipe dream. It hasn't been happening. So, but we continue to budget for it and raise the rates, which I just don't quite understand. There seems to be something disconnected here. So there's, 60, 50, there's $110,000 right there of increased expenses that, I don't know why it's budgeted that way, considering we're anticipating being, $140,000 under those budgeted line items this year. That's $240,000 swing. I think those numbers are wrong, and I think they should be redone.
Do you think, I had the same question originally, since we're under budget pretty much every year. Are you suggesting to just make that number more in line with what we've been seeing the past couple of years, assuming that all shifts won't be covered?
Well, I think it makes a little more sense to budget and more reflective of reality, but I certainly think that even 130,000 or 140,000 is better than 190. I mean, I understand these are budgeted numbers. They're not numbers that are going to be spent, but if we're talking about chipping it away at a deficit, I don't know. I also don't think we need 3 corporals and a sergeant for a part-time police force that is barely on the street.
Peter wants to chime in.
Push the button, I'm sorry.
I think if we're looking at budgeting conservatively, you want to go with the higher number. If you're looking to put these positions up for to hire, then you would want to go, I hate to say, not worst case scenario, but the most conservative and the most costly is what you want to do on the expense side. If it doesn't get filled, you have a positive variance.
Supervisor Davey, I mean, so I think I'd like to see us go into the new year with the expectation that we could fully fund all the officers. But I think sometimes the challenge is when there's unrealized payroll, then that funds get used for something else. Is that a bigger issue, or is it basically you don't like to see a big number that we're never
Well-
going to hit?
Well,
Because
there's
to
two,
me-
well, there's two issues. One is historically, we always go in saying we're putting 2 officers on the street 24/7. The reality is that doesn't happen. So if we're going to budget for it, fine. Then we got to figure out a way to do it because we've been saying that for the last 2 or 3 years now, and it hasn't happened. But we keep budgeting for it. The other problem is once a number's in a budget, it's as you just alluded to, when we're under budget, it's easy to just shift it around and spend it on something else, like a new police car or something else. So I appreciate and to some extent agree with Peter's overall philosophy of keeping expenses high and income low in a conservative budget. But when you have a number that's budgeted in a line item and it doesn't get used, more often than not, it'll get reallocated to get spent on something else, and it's still spent money. So I'm not saying the number should be $119,000 for corporals and sergeants, but I certainly don't think it should be 190.
Now, when you were budgeting, did you always match the those line items to the calculated effort for a full year?
Well, we used to. We tried that for many years, and then,
So we've always done it this way.
well, no, I wouldn't say we've always done it. We have done it historically. Last couple of years, we've also done it, and I think we've been proven wrong time and time and time and time again. Well, or we can just keep doing it. Pretend the best outcome is going to happen and just keep throwing the money in there. But that's one way to do it too. The other question I have is 410.600, police department new equipment. We're budgeting for $40,000 in 26. I know we budgeted for 57.5 last year, and we're anticipating being under that by about 26,000. So what is this comprised of?
Yeah, so our plate logic system, it's difficult because of the way we code these things. But so plate logic has the initial cost for the cameras, but then it also has the subscription cost year on year. And although I think the budget is projecting maybe one or maybe zero, is it Supervisor Hennessy, how many new cameras potentially? None, none new cameras. So this is the operating cost. The challenge is that from an accounting standpoint, they're getting invoiced for everything at the same time. So we didn't want to pull the plate logic computer part into 410,375 computer expense, because then she'd be pulling from two different budgetary items to make a payment.
I also think part of that reduction might be because of the radios. We bought radios this year, which we obviously don't need next year, so that's why there's a reduction. If you look at the historical spend, we were, 30,000 previously, 31, 18, and 14. So the 40,000 keeps us in line with the state logics, and then maybe some additional, purchases of stuff for it, so we need any extra equipment.
What's the plate logic subscription every year?
27?
27.
27?
Yeah.
Ish.
Okay,
27 too.
but we're not buying any more cameras.
I don't believe we have anything proposed for this year.
Okay.
Supervisor Davey, I know it was in Chief McCarthy's wish list, but that got pulled.
What are we anticipating for $8,000 in repairs and maintenance for the PD building?
Where are you at?
410, 710.
Well, I know that they were looking for, I think it was carpeting and paint. I think that they said it's the original contractor grade carpet and paint.
I think the paint we're doing this year, but that's, if we kind of out, if we just see I don't even know if we could get the one down with that price, but, maybe we have to do it in sections.
Yeah.
He's looking to get some upgrade in general to the build, their offices, so. again, it's not anywhere near what this full wish list number was, but we figured we could chip away at it.
Next question I have is 430.100 highway foreman payroll. There's an approximate $34,000 increase. What's the justification for that?
Yeah, and this is,
Someone getting a $34,000 raise?
no. So the intent was to hire a new individual in the Public Works group. So the current foreman's pay is kind of built into that pay, the road crew amount, and this would be a new position. For a couple of different reasons. Some of it is, utilization of the ticketing system that we're trying to employ to let folks be able to put a ticket in and have our highway team react to it. I think the other part is succession planning for the future of the department.
Well, it's not a new position because we budgeted for it last year. So it's a position that 430-100 is a position that's been budgeted and funded for many years. So
Correct. So this
what
was
is
a
it going to be
discussion-
next year?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this was a discussion with accounting, and I think in an effort to not create a new budgetary line item, the current foreman's compensation has been rolled into the road crew, and this is a new position.
So
New
the-
employee. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
No,
though,
you're
so-
right, that's how they did it, they moved that into the road crew and then.
So you're taking Brett's salary at 51,000 and change. You're rolling it into the budgeted 146 to come up with 211. And you're adding an additional $85,000 to hire someone new for the department.
Right. And that's a budgetary hold. I mean, the challenge is.
What's that mean?
Well, I'm explaining it. So, I think the challenge is finding talent in those roles. And some of the folks that we've hired previously didn't have a lot of experience, and we're looking for folks that have some. So if there's folks from other townships that are potentially looking to move or maybe move into more of a leadership role, we're not quite sure where those folks are going to end up. So that's the number that we think is going to be able to allow us to evaluate more talent.
So that would be a full-time highway foreman position. I didn't hear. Was that a yes? I didn't hear it.
My red light wasn't on, sorry.
So is the health insurance added in for that
Yes.
position?
Correct.
So tell me about the front loader. What do we need a front loader for?
I can start.
That's here.
Yeah, I mean, I could say my understanding is we have something that's 20 some years old.
Come on
Please,
up, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
Yes, the tractor we have is over 20 some years old now. It's got several thousand hours on it. It's getting due for some overhaul and that kind of stuff. So in theory, I think we were due for a replacement of a dump truck this year, which I got prices of, and they were in upwards of $100,000 or $130,000 for a truck. But I figured that we could hold on to that a little bit longer with the equipment we have because we maintain it so well. The loader itself, it's beyond our maintenance, so we've had to send it out, which would inadvertently cost more to maintain. So when you start adding it up, it would be more feasible to get a newer piece of equipment and get another 20, 25 years out of it.
so this is a replacement for one we already have. That's
Yeah,
Correct.
there's
ending
money
its
in
life
the,
cycle.
there's money in, I don't know how much we would get out of it, but there's money in the revenue for a resale or a
Resale.
trade-in. I didn't put much in there because I
Probably roughly
have no
around,
clue what something like that would be worth, but I
probably
think,
around 20,000.
okay, well, we put 15 for a combination of the police vehicle trade-in and for the loader trade-in, so.
Okay.
Thanks, Brett.
Mhm.
Thank you.
In 45402, there's a $25,000 allocation for park development, which is $8,000 more than last year's budgeted amount and more than we've ever budgeted. What's the anticipation expenditure for or reason for $25,000?
So it's partially what we see year to year, but this includes some allocation for, is it the cleaning of the pond?
There's some for the pond. There's also the Jack King Bridge replacement, which we budgeted for this year, but still haven't been able to get a permit for. That's an $8,000 cost. And then there's also some additional money in there for just tree removal because we're consistently removing trees at all the parks
And non-parks.
and non-parks.
Well, I'm assuming some of that tree removal goes into the maintenance line item.
Well, it didn't.
I think
Why wouldn't it?
they've been pulling it out of both line items in the past, apparently. I did ask that question.
I mean, the other sort of overarching issue too is if we're having increased, as this budget seems to reflect, increased expenses for code enforcement, for example, there should be a corresponding change in the fee schedule to increase revenues to offset those expenses, because we shouldn't be running negative deficits on code inspection and outside third-party services. That should be reflected in the permitting and the zoning appeals process. If we're not doing that, then it needs to be fixed because those are supposed to be and ideally should be revenue neutral line items.
And they are, but we are updating. I mean, I go through the process of getting the fee schedule updated every year. It goes out to all of our consultants. And then I review fee schedules in the area to make sure that we're comparable. But I think I did have that conversation with Marco and Donna, and we looked through, and I think we are pretty much neutral on the permit fees versus our professional fees.
That's all the questions I have at the moment.
Thank you.
Like D'Agostino, you might have
Yeah.
a couple.
And I appreciate it, Chuck, the giving your opinion about the supervisor pay. So as Chuck said, in 2025, when we were discussing the budget, we saw a significant budget deficit. So I was a very strong advocate for the board to not take our pay. While it may not seem like a lot, it's $12,500. That could go to parks, that could go to a lot of our stuff. So is it the intent that if that's adopted, that would go in effect for all 5 board members in January?
Correct.
Okay. I believe that is a violation of the Pennsylvania Constitution. You cannot vote for your own pay increase. So the only people eligible would be Steph, congratulations, and new board member Eileen. The other 3 board members would be prohibited by the Pennsylvania Constitution for voting for their own pay increase.
Well, we're not increasing pay. We've been doing it every year,
In 2025, it was 0.
but we always vote on
So
it.
the way the second class township code reads,
0 to 12,500 is an increase.
I get what you're saying, but we've always voted on our pay.
the way the second class township code reads is that any change in compensation takes effect at the beginning of the next term for that particular law, right? So each of you, for the purpose of this conversation, each of you, your terms would be a separate at the beginning of each term for them. So I think what happened was you sort of voluntarily getting back last year. Whether that was
We can give it back. We didn't receive a check and then donate it back. We got 0 checks in 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. I just think that that change probably, unless it was considered a voluntary give back, it didn't take effect at the beginning of the terms, right? So it was a change that didn't take effect at the beginning of the term. At the beginning of everybody's term, it was $2,500. I didn't even think of it from a constitutional perspective. I looked at it from the second township code perspective. So, I mean, my suggestion would be for tonight to leave it in. Let's take a deeper look at it. You can reduce line items without having to re-advertise. You know, they can. A significant enough increase could require re-advertising. So let me take a deeper look with that constitutional issue in mind. And
I just think for a little bit of money to violate the Pennsylvania Constitution, just for a couple of bucks in your pocket to buy a pizza and a case of beer, when you have a $1.173 million budget deficit, is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I think it should be taken out now. Why? You're going to spend more on legal fees when it gets challenged. My opinion, sorry.
Any other comments on our budget?
I'm sorry if I'm offending you by protecting
No, I
the.
just, I mean,
I apologize,
you know,
taxpayers,
we go-
that I'm trying to fight.
we go through this whole budget
Yeah.
and that's the only thing you can pick out.
Oh, no, oh, yes, please.
Move the argument, we like to speak ourselves.
Oh, I have a little more. Oh, go ahead. I'll go later.
When will we get to us?
You can go now. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, sorry. Mr.
Is that,
Okay.
is that light still on? Bill?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
My name is Harry Smedley. I'm a resident, 1153 Namens Creek Road, Garnet Valley. Okay, I've got some questions for the board. When you refer to the no tax increase, do you mean for this year? Because you referred to this year, which is 2025. Is that a no tax increase for 2026 for our residents? Okay. When exactly did this deficit begin? I mean, I'm concerned. As a matter of fact, you said there was a record up there that we had all received notice to come to this. Was this a direct mail item? Because some people don't use the internet. Was this sent out by direct mail to each resident?
No, it was advertised and.
Where was it advertised?
Delaware County,
Where was that?
Daily Times.
Oh, the Daily Times. I haven't seen the Daily Times in about 100 years. When the paper got that thin and the cost rose like that, we stopped getting the Daily Times.
Well,
So,
you have to
I think in the
decide
future-
newspaper general circulation,
I think
that's
in the
newspaper
future-
general circulation.
I think in the future, a direct mail piece would be perfect. And this way, all the residents know what's going on here. Okay, again, when did this deficit begin? I'd like to know that for record.
If the question is, when did we operate with a deficit?
Correct,
The records I can find online go back to 2017. And
2017.
in 2017, we show a carry forward balance of $165,000.
Okay,
As the adopted,
but I was looking at your scale. That kind of looked like 2021. And that thing went down. I mean, we're pretty visual people.
right,
So I mean, we're just expecting you to be honest with us, that's all.
well, that's
I mean,
what
we're
the
not-
visuals are there.
And will every resident have access to this paperwork that's just been shown to everybody, graphs, all this stuff?
The
It's
presentation.
important. It's very important.
Yep.
As far as general spending, that's a pretty vague statement. I mean, I'm looking at that and I'm saying general spending, that means that money can be shifted here, here. What is general spending?
If we're referring to the general fund, that would be the buildings, the parks, the staff, basically not the police.
So real quick, because that leads me into another question. How many buildings does the township own? One, two? I mean, I'm standing in one. of them.
Right.
You got another building over there. Does it own other buildings that we don't know about?
Well, there's the EMS building.
Everything
Okay,
on this campus we own.
So-
Salt storage.
so basically, we're talking about 4 buildings. That's an awful lot of money for 4 buildings. I mean, I own a house. I repair that. This is a lot of money we're talking about. We're talking about 4 buildings, right? I mean, because if it's more, just let me know. So now, tire and fuel. I own a vehicle. I pay for it. We've got thousands of dollars in tires and fuel. I can understand fuel use for the gentleman back there. Thank you for your service doing our parts. I appreciate that. And also, thank you very much. At the end of the day, that seems excessive. And I mean, we don't know, how many vehicles does the township own that use diesel fuel? Does it own 30, 40 vehicles? Does it own 5, 4? And the cost of the tires, we're talking yearly, maybe a year. My tires on my car for 40,000 miles, if not more. And diesel fuel, I understand the cost went up. That seems very excessive. Now, I'm a resident of Bethel Township for 25 years. I haven't had my shed broken into. I haven't had anybody come on my property for trespassing. And we're increasing our officers. I mean, I understand, like, if we're in Chester City, we need some officers. We're in Bethel Township. We're in Bethel Township. We're nowhere else. This is a beautiful, safe place. As a matter of fact, people come here because of that. I just need to wrap my head around that. I really do. I mean, it seems excessive. Again, I have to use that word, excessive. Again, no one answered my question. How many vehicles does the township of Bethel own? I mean, I'm a resident here. I deserve an answer.
Go ahead, Peter.
So do the people that are on
It's
the
like 12,
YouTube
13
thing.
vehicles. right?
12, 13 vehicles. And how? Please, Peter.
Like six or seven police vehicles and.
And we just bought a new one.
Non-insured police, public works, and
And public works.
I have a fire department. I didn't.
Or fire.
I didn't include that.
Now, these fire police vehicles, okay, and they're owned by us. Okay. And the other vehicles,
Well, public works,
how many do you own that? How many do you guys have?
we have, 8 trucks.
8 trucks, 2 loaders. Okay. Me back loaders like the one where,
Backhoe and the load.
okay, back on load. Okay. How much money's in our reserve fund?
We're projecting, if we're talking about the general.
Currently, I mean, right now, not a projection.
I would. Changes, but I
Projections change.
would estimate
I think it was in the
3.6 million,
No, I don't
30.
think- I don't know what it was.
Like right now, 3.2.
I think it's 3.2.
Well, you're the one that said it was a reserve fund, so I mean, you can't discuss it.
We're projecting at the end of, as of today.
As of today. Right now. Wow.
You look at the charges.
I'm
You just told us you're
pulling it
our
up now
accountant.
because I have it.
Okay. We'd like to have that. Yeah. Could we post that on our website? We do have a website.
The report goes online with the agenda.
Yeah, in the packet.
And our current deficit is posted up there, and our current reserve and deficit is posted.
Yeah.
Oh,
all.
I'm confused.
Stay, right? Those packets don't stay.
You not stay up there for a long period of time, there's a budget for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the other.
What's this?
At the beginning of October, there was, oh, it's not even on that sheet, sorry. I'm handicapped without an extra one. And there's an expense and there's a a revenue and an expense, but it doesn't. It just showed we were 61,000 in a deficit. But it doesn't show the reserve in that spreadsheet. Let me go to the actual treasurer's report.
So when we come like next month to the meeting and stuff, when we talk about the park that I don't remember speaking to any of my neighbors about, they wanted a new park. No one said that to me. And I don't know of anyone in the township that wanted a new park. I think this is like some kind of like crazy expenditure, which is crushing our township. Which without that, all these numbers equal out, and we can see that. I mean, we're not ignorant people.
6.2 for all the various funds. What it says, cash on hand for all the various funds total 6.22. At
Six.
September 30th.
As in thousands,
6.2 million, yeah,
2 million. Okay,
for all of our accounts.
okay.
Fire fund, trash fund, liquid fuel,
Okay.
general fund.
Seems like we got a good bit of money to pay for everything for this township, except a giant park that we don't need. So. Road construction, it said roads were built. Where were these roads built at?
They're not built, we repave and rehabilitate the roads every
Okay.
year.
Okay, so that's for maintenance.
Yes,
Okay. This agreement with Mainline Health, it seems like a real absorbent number. I mean, this is a big number. Who was involved with signing these papers that handcuffed us to Mainline Health? I mean, we're a township, we can shop around.
We did.
you did.
Yeah, okay, so when we shopped around, who were the other companies that we contacted?
Crozier and, Ogden.
We had,
Upper Tri.
Ogden, which is Upper Tri, we had Concordville, Narberth, we talked to.
I mean, one.
The Concord came back.
And
I think
who
we
are
asked
the-
somebody
who are
else
these
too, and they
vehicles?
said they-
Where does this expense come from? Why, what is this expense for? Just explain.
It's
it to
the
me.
ambulance services
Okay,
for the township. And
so but now, when I go by ambulance, why does my health insurance charge me for an ambulance fee?
that's their economic model.
Okay,
They both charge.
so they charge me for a fee, but I'm being charged by my township too?
Well, we're being charged to house them here. So in
Okay,
order
so-
to give our residents immediate health services, we
Okay,
have ambulances behind this building.
how many ambulances are behind this building?
Well, there's an ALS.
No, we do.
It's just numbers. I
We do
mean,
what's called a MICU model, which has the ALS and the BLS combined, so basic life service and advanced life service travels on one end.
Well, that's real confusing for me. I just want to know how many ambulances
One
are
ambulance.
behind it. One ambulance.
One ambulance.
One ambulance for this cost? All these residents? What if 2 people got sick that night? I'm just concerned about that. It seems insane. Now, is Rachel Cole Library located in Concord Township?
Yeah.
So it's not in our township,
Correct.
but we're giving money to this library.
There are 5 townships that
Okay,
contribute to the
so-
library.
I'm concerned because none of my kids really went to the library when they went to school here. They have the internet now, so they don't need to go to the library to read books. So my concern is, why are we giving that amount of money to the library?
At some point, there was a referendum to fund the library and
Okay, what year was that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, 75? Was it-
No, 2000.
We got internet.
It works out
So,
to, it
yeah,
works out
back
to
then it
10,
made sense.
it works out to $10 a resident
$10 a resident.
per year.
Okay. These are just questions. I mean, the reason why is because I don't have the ability to fire anybody here. But if you worked for my company, I definitely would. There'd be no doubt about that. This is a deficit. This is a lot of money. And I'm not a stupid person. So I'm thinking to myself, with this type of deficit, how are we ever going to get out of this without raising the tax on the people? I mean, it just seems impossible. Unless bags of gold start dropping out of the sky, or like we scratch a lottery ticket, we all agree we're going to give it to the township. It just doesn't really make sense. I mean, I know you got graphs and stuff like that, but I'm just a common sense, hardworking, blue collar guy. And that's why I love this township so much and moved here. This full-time additional assistant. Could a part-time assistant be used? I mean, you know, there are laws. When you work so many hours, you have to pay for someone's health insurance. But when you work under those hours, you don't have to pay. So is it possible for that? Anybody?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it was evaluated and there's a lot that the township office needs to do. And the best path forward is a full-time employee.
I'm just wondering with the internet and everything and with these modern counting programs and stuff. I could imagine years ago when they were actually moving papers, this kind of thing, but I mean, this has never happened. Have we had that much of an increase in residents in our township that would justify that? I mean, maybe like, rough number, 100,000 more people moved in. I could see that happening. But we're just concerned about that as residents. And I'm just, the list could really go on, but this park's just got me blown away. I just don't know why we're putting the park in. I agree with you when you said, Giovanni, right? I agree with you when you said that the path needs to be replaced in King Park because it's very dangerous. You know, it's got slippery stuff all over the decking and somebody could be injured and hurt. And I see that they put another path there, but it doesn't really replace the wood. I agree that that should be replaced 100%. And you're right, the trees, we need to maintain the trees for the safety of the people. And I think we can afford to do that, but we don't invest in $1 million park. Yeah, I mean, those numbers are huge, and I just can't see us not getting hurt as people. You know, I'm as concerned as anybody else, and I have to come up here and, you know, just about half an hour away from the birds kicking off, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to miss that. But at the end of the day, come on, help us out. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're a D or an R, I don't care about that. It means nothing to me. But I want our residents to be able to afford to live here and retire here. I don't have kids in school and I still pay the school tax. I don't care. It's a good school district. At the end of the day, come on, help us out. Rework these numbers. I think you can do it. I'm confident in that. I'm very confident in that. And by the way, my grandmother's a Yakima. So at the end of the day, that's all I got. Hopefully I got through to somebody.
Thank you.
Please.
My name is Diane Smith and I live at 1602 Wendy Way. I have a number of questions, so hopefully I don't go up and down too much. You did a great job, by the way. You did a lot of good questions. Our fund balance carryover, you said was 3.6 roughly? Or if that's what it's like roughly?
3.2 for 2026.
3.2 over 20, okay, so 3.2. Does anyone, what's the average, like for a township of this size, the rest of Pennsylvania, what's the average for a fund? The 600,000 sounds very low for an emergency fund.
Peter, do you have any insight on that?
The only thing I'd say is that, Chairman put up,
Mhm.
suggested surplus on.
Right,
They're reasonably low. They
Very low.
suggest we want, what I've been told, the piece out of recommendations from, of revenue or expenses,
Mhm.
so it's a lot of it. And I think those numbers are close to that.
Mhm.
But he's not. So we're significantly over the allocate.
But we make interest too. I mean, we make income from that money. It's not like, you know, it's going to waste.
We were very fortunate and very high.
Right. Mhm. Right, but still, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but
Right. Well, I still think I'm very uncomfortable from going from a $3 million money in our bank down to 600,000. That's a lot of money just because, you know, you guys want to raise the budget. You know, I think you should be, you know, you have to cut the budget. It's the largest budget you guys have had since 2017. Now, different years have gone up. 2017, they had a little bit, they had a deficit. In 2018, they had a surplus. In 19, they had a small deficit. In 2020, they had a large surplus. In 2021, they had $344 deficit. I mean, that was a nice year. 2022, it was also a surplus. 23, there was a deficit, and then 2024, let's see, what did we have? I'm not sure what we had in 2024. And then 2025, we had a very large deficit. And I know a lot of that was because of the emergency fund. And we went from, just to answer your question, Mr. Smedley, but
Yes.
Crozier charged us nothing to have their ambulances here, nothing. And then suddenly, you know, and we know what happened to them. Now, you know, it's like what, 800,000 a year now we have to pay to have this same service. And that's what happened in 2024, 2025. You know, we went from zero to a huge amount. And so that was kind of unavoidable because I think most of the residents here do enjoy having, you know, an ambulance close by. I know I do. Is it too much money? I don't know. But that's, I know you were asking about how that happened. And that was the answer to that question. And I'm sorry, you know, I know you want to think. So, anyway, a couple other questions. Assistants, executive, you want to hire a second person, an assistant secretary or assistant executive? Why do we need two? Did our population grow?
Not significantly, but I think there's a lot of work for the township office to get through. And it's funny, we talk about like the internet and the digitization, that stuff has an effort associated with it too. So, you know, the updating the website and doing all the right to know requests and those kind of things, it takes up a lot of time for the township.
But they're also not Xeroxing stuff anymore because it's all on the, you know, there's some give and take there. You might not be doing as much on this stuff, but you're doing more on that stuff. I just think we need to, in this kind of a year, we should not be hiring any, you know, doubling any workforce of any kind. Let's see. So that was that. The fund balance I already commented on. The other thing I'm uncomfortable with, and I've been, you know, I've been to almost every meeting for the last like 3 or 4 years. How many? A lot.
Yeah.
You guys do this. Now, I know it's not, you know, and you always say you're going to do it and you're very clear about it, but you do it. You know, it gets approved in the budget and then you do move it. I'm going to move this from this line item to that line item. And you can't do that if you maybe trim the budget, then you don't have that freedom to do that, you know, and maybe in a year like this, we shouldn't, you know, we should be more careful about the budget. Things, you know, I've seen it in many meetings. Almost every month, you're moving something from somewhere to something else. Also, I wanted to ask the packet. Now, I noticed that a lot of times I go on there, you know, just I do go on there and it's not there. And then I pull my hair out. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And I didn't realize that you leave it on for a few days and then you take it off. Why can't you leave that up all month? I mean, it doesn't cost anything, does it?
That's a discussion that we're having.
Like, I think you should have it because that's
Yeah.
more transparent.
Sure.
And you owe it to the residents of this, township. Also talking about transparency, is that slideshow going to be on the web? Okay. You have worksheets on your computers, Excel, something, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be on you are going to put that line by line by line, Stephanie was
It's right
saying.
here. Yeah.
But it's going to be on the website.
Yeah.
I can pull that up tomorrow and I can look up what, I don't know, give me a line item.
Yeah.
Each line.
And you went,
It'll look just like this.
you went, and you got your data from the website for previous years.
I did.
And
the
that,
same.
so that, exactly what you had for 25,
So you are
you'll
going to put
get
that
it
on there.
26.
Okay. And, because I'd like to look at that. I mean, I'm flying blind. I mean, I'm not bad with numbers, but I don't really know what went up and what went down. I'd like to compare what, like what Mr. Davies did. He's looking at stuff, from 1 year and seeing what went up and he's doing a comparison. I'd like to do that same thing. And I think a lot of people in the township would like to do that. And I think they'd like to have the time to do that. I don't know when you're looking to pass this budget, but I think you need to give people time to really evaluate it and sit there and really look at it.
Ideally, December 9th.
That'll be the fun thing. Because the other comment I have, and this is Schaefer, I begged you, month after month, to keep it a simpler thing with Schaefer. Don't use so much money. Don't make it fancy. Just make it a preserve. I think most people want an open space. That's awesome. Open space is awesome, but we don't have to have paved sidewalks. We don't have to have gazebos. I begged you to, and don't scrape off 2 feet of the topsoil, whatever they're proposing. I don't even say, and that's the other thing, that meeting for Schaefer is on the 20th of this month. Okay, and we need to look at that and have an opportunity to really question that. We need to see what that is and see where we can cut back on this. I think, this 1.173, that's a huge, you've never had that big of a deficit ever in the history of this township have had that big of a.
We currently have it this year.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have it now. You never had it before, and it really needs to. And even last year, when there was a good reason for the medical costs, that was a good reason. It was unavoidable. It was a good reason. You beat that number. You're larger deficit this year than that. So you really have to sharpen your pencils, and this has to go way under $1 million. I mean, I'd say half it. I don't know. I don't know these numbers. And then one other thing, in 2022, you guys, I guess that might have been the year after you bought Schaefer Park. And there was a nice little thing, like you have that, we have like library fund and you have the liquid fuels, those little subcategories. I don't know what you call them, but and only in 2022 did you have a park and rec little budget where you wrote income and you wrote, what happened to that in 23 and 24 and 25? Because it's not there anymore. And I think also the people in this township deserve to see that. What are we spending exactly on Schaefer Park, since it is such a sensitive matter and a lot of people are upset about it? I say get as much open space as we can afford, but I do not make it, fix the little parks we have. They're not great. And leave, make it a very natural space. That's what Chatsworth does. They have lots of parks and they're very natural. Their paths are mowed grass and that's it. We have an awesome park and rec department, our parks maintenance department, and they certainly could take care of that. We could keep this so simple and save so much money if you guys would just be willing to do that.
All the
just see if I
parks
got
that
it.
Diane is in the general fund budget. I don't remember ever having a
There was-
separate.
Look at
fund.
2022.
If you look online, there was a separate,
Yeah.
this was before.
Yeah.
some
Oh,
of us on the
I know. I'm
board.
just saying what happened to it. I'm
And I
not
don't know-
It is,
accusing
but
anyone.
it's in the general fund. So when you go to look at it, it's not a separate fund, it's in the general.
I know,
fund.
but I can't find it. I can't find like what you spent on
It's
mowing
in
the
there.
grass at Schaefer or not that, it's just, it's bare. I hate to say it, but it's buried in the general fund, whereas people are very interested in it. I think you should pull it out again. Look at 2022's sheets and you'll see what I mean. It's on page 12, the last page, 12 of 12. It's right there. And $200,000 for Schaefer in 2026. That's a lot of money for something that should be a lot simpler. I know it's beating that dead horse. So I asked about that packet. I think the packet should be up all year. I guess I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Dave Tustin. I live at 1159 Namens Creek Road. I just came here tonight just because we heard about it. So I didn't get a chance to look at all those numbers. So, but if I did, I'd probably want to scrub them in my life because I am responsible for the budget of a church and the budget's like half this, okay? But when we have it, like if we have a deficit in a category, we have to do. We have to challenge them, tell them to go back and look at those numbers. So, for example, I know we need a police force. It's very important. But we need to challenge them. Can you do a 10% reduction? What can you do? We don't need, can we sell a couple of these cars? Why do we need 6 cars? That seems interesting. I know you need a couple cars, but we have 2 guys maybe on running it, staff, maybe a third that needs to come to an event. 6 cars? Is that because you need to have backups in case you put them in the shop? I don't know. But,
3 shifts, 2 cars.
but- okay, but three shifts, you should be able to do handovers and, you know, and the guys are typically back in the back, or I don't see people. I would love to see people stopping people on Namens Creek Road, stop them from doing 50 miles an hour, and catch them, you know what I mean? With a time thing, but that would be income that I don't ever see that. I almost get run over every day when I go out to get the mail. So that's one thing. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that, because I think there's several other items where you should challenge the people that provided you the budget inputs. Can you reduce that? We are now, so we're basically 50% over budget when you think about it, because we're deficit 1.7, the entire budget's 3, right? Roughly.
Yes.
So you're 50% over budget. It's like, wow, how can we start the year like that? And we have a slush fund or a bank account of 3 million roughly. So if we continue this and project this out a couple of years, there's tax increases coming for sure, because you can only sustain this for 2 years. Have you mapped this out? Like, what's our future projections? Have you done a 5-year plan on a budget or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and you might have heard it in one of these meetings before, but colloquially, I think folks would say, well, taxes haven't been raised in X amount of years.
Well, that's good news.
Well, okay, the other side of that coin is if, let's say, 12 years we haven't raised taxes,
Well, I don't think that's true, by the way, because I'm pretty sure my taxes go up every year.
you're perhaps, I mean, let's just say, for example, that's the case. Let's say the general fund hasn't changed the millage in 12 years, but goods and services continue to increase. I mean, we're seeing crazy inflation for everything. That affects the township as well. So it's absolutely harder than it ever has been to try to keep it where we don't have to raise taxes. And I think that the board is committed to doing that as long as we possibly can. But the fact remains, in our current year, not our proposed budget for next year, our current year, we are projected a $1+ million deficit that was approved for the year we're currently in. Because we haven't had
Was it a projected $1 million budget, or was it?
it was projected at
It's
1
so
million.
projected and realized is what you're saying.
It's, I think the realization is going to be around $600,000. So we were able to conserve a little during the year.
Okay. But if we keep, like I said, if we keep doing that, we will have no reserves in a couple of years. I mean, if you plan on it, if you look at that from a projection. So I think you guys really need to do like a 5-year plan on what are we doing with our money, you know? Because I mean, it would be nice to say, well, you know what, in 2 years, we're going to have to raise taxes by this much. But the thing is, I guess the real problem is it's a giant number, right? So you really need to take some challenges to get that number back into the box. And I kind of agree with the park. I love parks. And I love the idea of preserving open space. I'd love to even, you know, see if we could grab Donna Silvestri's property and get another 23 acres. That'd be awesome. But the thing is, you have to have some way to make it to balance the budget with that. So like, there's a lot of money I see that you're getting as grants, other monies that we've gotten in. That's almost enough to do the whole project. What? Skip a couple of paved roads like we're talking about, and maybe just have a nice parking lot and carve a path through there with have some guys come in and cut some trees down. I bet you can do it a lot cheaper. I know you probably could squeeze 130,000 out of that project. That would take 130,000 out of your deficit. If we figure out how we don't need new machinery next year. I mean, yes, it's good to get new machinery because there's maintenance on it. Do we need it next year? I mean, that's the question. And then I know that you're talking about hiring 2 new people. In a time when you don't have the money, it doesn't sound like the right answer. I know I deal with the people in the office there, and I've never had a delay. But if you're having people do, sunshine rule, I need information. Hey, it's a 2-week wait because we only have 1 person. I mean, that's simple as that. We don't have to be up on it, or you charge them more for services. Oh, you want to submit that form? it's no longer $20, it's like 100 or whatever it is, but you have to have a budget neutral problem or answer. And then, yeah, I was gonna, so unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to review the whole thing. I guess you're gonna put it online tomorrow. What's the next step? We kind of have some comments, but you kind of can look at me and say, you're nuts, and I'm not gonna do anything about that. Or are you gonna like think about trying to reduce it? I don't know.
Well, the plan is to make a motion in this meeting to approve the budget. And if it were to pass, then there's,
To advertise.
I'm sorry, to advertise.
Advertise.
Sorry. And then there's that 20-day or whatever it is, 20-some day review period. And then it would be adopted potentially in December.
Okay, but.
So we have another meeting next week,
Mhm,
just our regular board meeting. You're welcome to come to that
okay,
after you've had time to digest what we post online and provide additional comments. You're also welcome to come to the meeting on the 9th.
but you guys basically all agreed you're gonna pass the budget anyway, so I mean,
I agree.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So
4 out of 5.
Well, no, I don't know about that. I guess what I would say is the whole process of economizing, that was the last.
I
40
see it, I know you brought the number down from 2, or I should say up, from 2 point something up to 1.7, that's about it, right?
Right.
But it's still pretty big. I mean, that's a big number. I mean, like I said, you should go back to all the various inputters to the thing and say, listen, we need to take a 10% challenge to figure out how we're gonna deal with this problem.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, and also I don't understand. I was just hearing about this. This is the first time I ever heard this. $800,000 for them to use the building. They should pay us money to use it.
It's not $800,000.
Oh, what is it?
We pay $492,000 a year for EMS.
Okay, $500,000 for them
Yeah.
to use our building. It should be like they pay us rent to use it. It's like, what the heck? I mean, you're giving them a service so they can rapidly come and pick people up and then charge them money to take them to the hospital, right? So it's like, if it was the township was giving us a free service, like you have a thing there and they need to come and get us and it's free. Okay, that's okay. We're paying for that. They should be paying us money to use our building.
None of them do.
No,
And
that's-
honestly, the only other alternative we had was to not have a unit here and then.
So where would
was
it come from then?
Concordville or
Crozier
Chad
or-
Or Ogden.
yeah, Concordville or Chad. Or Aston.
Well, so if it's Aston or Concordville or Chi,
And
They're
the
saving-
price, and
they're
the price
saving-
honestly was not that much
It
different.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just how much this costs.
Unfortunately,
yeah, it just seems like, that just seems weird
it's,
that they're
Yeah.
actually charging us to use our facility. I feel like putting them out in the parking lot and letting them wait outside. You know, it just doesn't seem. And the other thing, last comment is I didn't, like I said, I didn't read budget line by line, but refurbishing a building in a year when I know it's great to like we move to get new carpet or paint stuff. But when we're already at this deficit, we should scratch that, say that, not this year. I just don't think you can do it. You know what I mean? And so I would appreciate if you guys would go through and like sharpen the pencil a little bit more. And take some challenges so we get this back in the box. I think a budget should be neutral. And then if you go over budget, okay, we only need to deal with over budget issues or unexpected things. But you shouldn't start off with that big a 50% deficit. That's not right. So anyway, that's it. Oh, one other thing. I am on the planning commission and you can have my salary back, or it's not really salary. It's a $200 thing. I got it when I first joined. I got this check. I'm like, why am I getting a check? I thought this was a volunteer position. So if you need my $200, I'll give it back.
Thank you. Yes, please.
yeah. No, Donna, you're up.
Donna there at 1612 Wendy Way. My question is, every month when you guys okay what the previous month, so when you have your minutes and you approve them, those minutes are Godspell, right? I mean, they are the minutes, correct?
Yeah, that's the record and that's what's available online.
Okay, so here's where I need one of you to sit with me. I paid my controller from my company to go through And we started with January 23, only because that was the month that you paid the 500 and whatever thousand for Schaefer Preserve. And your numbers and the numbers that are in your minutes are way off. Because there was a couple things like you paid $35,000 to Nault to amend the covenant that's been in place since 1998, changed in 1999, my lawyer just told me, but is 100 years. It's 100 years from 1999, which is really not really valued here, but what is valued here is I did it. You, Giovanni, you told me that I was wrong, that it's not correct. So I'm like, okay. So I had my controller, I paid him. I said, I want you to do nothing until you go through month by month. Guess what? His numbers match mine. So why do your numbers in your minutes reflect one thing, but your numbers up here reflect $700,000 less? I can't remember the exact amount because I didn't know I was going to need it, but I can give it to you. He did a full report for me.
So let me start, and then where I'm wrong, just overstep me. And first off, yeah, we could sit down and talk about it, first off. Second off, sometimes there's a difference between the authorization that we make in a meeting versus money spent. So if we authorize $400,000 and then later we find out that the true value needs to be $405,000, we're doing a new authorization for $405,000. And that's washing out an old number. It's not cumulative.
Okay.
And then even that $405,000, it doesn't mean that we're cutting that check then. That might be
I know
something.
that.
Yeah, so it's got to be a combination
I
of,
run a $20 million a year company, so I'm pretty versed on all that. But here's my question. You also did not reflect in there I'm going to, for lack of a better word, promissory. So if you have a grant for $1, but you have to match it for $1, that is not in there.
Right, because we
I can see.
haven't spent any of that yet.
But it needs, the people need to know that is, if that grant comes through and you get it, yay, but now you have to match it and it's not in there.
Well, the question was, how much have we spent to date? And that's what we've spent to date is what we provided tonight at this meeting. There is definitely funds that, like the note that we have not spent yet. We've applied for a lot of grants that had matching funds, which we never received. So if
I
you're going
understand.
through and adding that stuff up, you're adding numbers that aren't real because we never received those
But
grants.
you're not being honest, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, I really don't. You're not being honest with the people that this is what it's gonna cost this year, this is it. And then those grants come through and guess what? Now you have to match them.
And we do
that is-
resolutions indicating those amounts
And that's not in your budget.
because we haven't gotten those grants.
But you need to, sorry,
Do you-
just jumping in.
That's
there.
okay, do
You just
you
need
see
to,
where
I know.
my
But
heart.
you're saying we
you need
spent,
to at least let people know that this is a possibility of happening.
and that's what we do and that's what we do at the meetings with the resolutions.
well, I think the question,
No, That's
I-
not, you're missing.
I think what might be the case is we're saying, hey, we want to use 130K of general funds. But then once you add all these matches up, that might be another $100,000. And the question is could that come out of fee and lieu?
No, she's saying we're saying we spent $777,000, whatever it is.
You actually wrote checks.
She's coming up with $2 million.
Oh.
It was not quite that, it's right around there.
I mean,
Of what was spent versus what is out there that could be.
Well, that's a
spent.
different, I guess
yeah.
a different thing altogether.
It
We
is a
provided,
different thing
well, it
altogether.
is because we were trying to provide the number of what we've spent. You asked, what were the costs on Schaefer to date? That's what we provided. If you're looking for the possible costs in the future, that's a different line item altogether.
But
that
it
we can-
needs to be out there,
And
it
that's-
needs to be.
and that's
transparent,
fine.
and it isn't.
That's fine, but that's not what we provided tonight. So your 2.2 million number or whatever it is,
Oh,
you know, I don't know that that's accurate. I still don't think that's accurate, but I think we can go through and add up all the grants that we've applied
It's in your
for.
minutes.
And
yeah, that's.
add up the grants,
I
add
don't
up
think
the
that would be
match.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
We
you
can
know-
add that information.
I'm sorry?
We could include that information as something that you can see.
I mean, that is what true transparency is. I mean, I sat here at one meeting where you took money out of the maintenance fund, and I'd forgotten this, and the police fund to match a grant for the Schaefer Preserve. Yes, you did. It's in your minutes. I want to say it was in November of last year. I can't be positive of that, but I'm pretty sure it was. But you know, you needed to match it, and you did. But that wasn't in your budget. And I know that the extra money was in there from the maintenance department, and the extra money was in there from the police, and I get that you can move things. I work with budgets every day of my life. But the people of this township do not know that, and they don't understand that. And they look at that and they think, well, that sucks, but oh well. But they don't understand that what else could be coming down the pike that is far more than what you're showing. So I would like to sit with one of you and my controller and let you see, like, okay, so where's this one? Where's that one? Because all he does is acquisitions. So this is right up his alley. And I just want the people of Bethel to know and to understand what could be coming down the pipe. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, that second slide that he had for Schaefer is what could be coming down the pipe. That shows you what's left to pay for. I mean, it kind of broke it out.
No, all it said was grants. It didn't say which grants were this grant's for $100 and it's free and clear. This grant's for $100, but you have to match it. Obviously, I'm giving you small numbers, but you get my point. I just know that the transparency that you promised is really not there, Chuck. It's not. And I have the proof on paper to show it. And I don't want to be like that, but the people need to know that. They really, really do. They deserve it. They deserve, that's all I'm asking for.
Okay. So any other comments from the public?
Good evening. My name is Scott Ristine. I 3016 Falk Road. And I just wanted to say, I'm not going to reiterate what everybody previously said. I agree with many of the things, but I just want to say that when I moved here like 23 years ago, it's such a great town. Really is. I raised my family here and all. And what I loved about the town, it was a simple town, small town. You know, I think we had 3 supervisors back then. It just seems like through the years, it's like anything else. We just start to expand, you know, and everybody seemed to do a pretty good job keeping the budgets down and not raising taxes too often and like that. But I tell you, when I saw that budget, I almost fell off my chair. I'm like, this is unsustainable. You know, obviously there's going to be tax increases coming for everybody. And people are having a hard time these days living, you know. Delaware County's raising our taxes. They're going crazy over there, you know. And what I loved about this town, it was like, well, it's always like a little sanctuary. Say, hey, my hometown's pretty good. We're pretty level headed. We don't go crazy on things, and I can always count on it. But this year, next year, I see things slipping away and getting out of control. And I'm just going to ask the board, please review, think about those things. Got a lot of people here that can't afford tax increases coming up, that lived here for a long time and want to stay here. And I would just appreciate it. And I do appreciate all the hard work you guys do on top of that. So I just wanted to say that without reiterating and all that other stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Chmielewski. I live at 2043 Falk Road. I have a question about this Schaefer property. What are you doing? I know the man was a vet and it's some historical, but why are you spending so much money on this property? No. Nobody answers.
No,
I have no idea.
I don't either.
It's a log cabin. I don't know.
So The township purchased 20 some acres with the intent to make it a preserve, one that could be utilized by the entire community. And there's an acquisition cost that was shown here, $577,000, most of which was utilized grant money. And the plan is to have I want to say a 19-car parking lot, to have some paved trails, and then provide stormwater management so that in storm events, there's not a contribution to the creek. So this is,
What are people gonna park there for? What are they gonna see? Is
There-
there a playground in the
no
backyard?
playground.
They're
It's
gonna tour the house?
not the house.
What bridge?
Yeah, there's
They're
a,
crossing over the creek.
the plan shows a bridge off of a Goodley Road parcel so that the folks in that community can access the preserve on foot. Or there's the road access on Bethel Road. But what would people see? It's just a nature preserve. It's,
And you can come to the meeting on the 20th. They're gonna present plans to show you what it's gonna look like. The engineer is gonna be there.
It just seems like a lot of money to spend on a house when some people can't even afford to pay their taxes. Is there ever going to be a discount for seniors in this township?
well, that's not something that's been considered, but that would be like an earned income tax credit. Where, there's an additional tax for folks that are working, but that hasn't been discussed yet.
Well, we don't work because we're over 65. We're over 70.
We,
Oh, yeah. $275. That's really going to help me.
is that is it $275 reduction on your local tax? Is that what we're talking? It's a refund. Because like, again, the average tax is it's about $520 per year, and then your trash is $480. That's the average. If you have, more valuable property, then your taxes are slightly higher. So I didn't know if that was part of that.
The second question is about the gas, the diesel.
Mhm.
How many of these cars that this township owns take diesel? I can understand the fire trucks, the police cars.
I don't believe any of the
Yeah.
police vehicles they're all gasoline. I think some of the trucks for the
Brett's probably
public
a
works are
hybrid
diesel.
between-
So what do they do? Have a card so when they go to the Exxon up the street? Do you guys get that
But-
privilege?
No,
No, but with respect to fuel costs, and you might,
I think there's a misinterpretation when you hear liquid fueled, you're thinking. fuel.
Yeah.
But that's not what that,
Is that oil to heat this place? No?
it's just that it's the way that it's named by, I guess, the state. And
Oh.
it's a revenue that we receive based on how many miles we have of roadway in the township. And then we use that money to pay for things like fuel, vehicles, roadway maintenance, storm sewer. So it's called liquid fuels, but
Oh.
it's not 300,000 in fuel money that we're spending.
Okay. They were the only two questions. So when is the next one about the Schaefer?
The 20th.
Okay.
And we have a meeting next week on the 18th, just our regular board meeting.
Where can I get, I think you had a paper, didn't you? Let's get the meetings, the budget, no, the lady in the green.
Oh, me?
No, the lady in the green.
Oh, good. I'm so sorry. Can't read that. This is just scratch.
Oh, I,
But you can go on the website.
Yeah.
What did you want to do?
well, it had two things on there tonight, this meeting and the trash. So where would I go to see these other reports?
Everything is on the website that
or
you might be looking for.
if she goes to the township office,
They can print out a copy for
they
you.
can get you a
Oh.
copy.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, you can
Thank
go
you.
to Township Road and they had some of the stickers you were talking, right? And
I don't want to speak for Bill's team there on that, but I'm sure if there's
It
specific
can help her
questions.
find what she's looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any additional questions from the public? Supervisor D'Agostino, I thought you might have been midway through. Do you have any other concerns?
Yeah, I know Giovanni was like upset by my comments earlier, but I just want to talk a little more about Giovanni's vanity project, Shaper Preserve. So let's really look at these numbers. So you'll see something that was part of the presentation called recreation fee in lieu. So that's been a little squirreled away fund that's been squirreled away for years and nobody's been allowed to touch. It was solely to use of this project. So when a developer comes in and they build these $1 million houses, if they don't provide open space, they have to pay this fee. And that fee is supposed to take care of our parks. We have many parks that need tons of maintenance. $250,000 could probably take care of them for 20 years. Instead, it's gonna be taken out of that fund and put in the shape of a park. So if you add together the 130,000 next year budgeted, the 72,000 ARP funds, which is money that can be used for other things, and the 250, you're almost at $500,000 that's coming out of Bethel funds for the park. So that's a reality. You could use all the different terms you want, but it's $500,000 in funds that could be used for other things, especially taking care of our parks that could definitely use it for probably 20 years. That's all I have.
Okay, I mean, I don't want her to take sole credit for, it's a passion project of mine too. I believe that we have an opportunity for a unique parcel that could be used by the entire community. And I still feel committed to making sure that if we develop it, that it's done in a way that's respectful for the residents. You're not incorrect. Fee in lieu money can be used for either this park or any other park that we have. I personally think it's an appropriate use of the cost because it lowers the impact on the general fund, which is their directly affecting our residents.
Again, where's the transparency that you promised?
To be clear, I thought the slide identified that.
Did you explain
Hey,
that?
Don, I think because Becca's trying to keep the minutes, you gotta identify yourself every time you're gonna speak. Just so that, I don't know, that's Bill's rule, I'm like, but
That's so people.
as far as the
people
minutes, we just
watching.
need to, she needs it for clarity.
Yeah, that's the microphone up
Oh,
there
for
so
the
that
Zoom
the
people
people
too.
who are
Yeah,
watching on
right.
YouTube can hear.
I didn't want,
Yes, Mom.
I don't know what you just, but Diane Smith, 1602, what do you mean respectful for the citizens? What does that mean? Define that.
What's,
What does that look like? Because I think your guys' idea of what the park should look like and what the people who are paying for its idea of what the park should look like are very, very different.
well,
So I'd like to hear what, because that's, I never heard you say that term before. Thank you.
well, I think when I said this last piece, which I don't recall, I think what I was saying is for the people who live immediately around the preserve. You know, I am committed to making sure that the folks that live around are comfortable with the way that the final result is set to be. To the greatest extent possible, because there's certain requirements that I believe we need to comply with in order to have a functioning preserve. ADA accessibility is one. So if you're asking me what I think about the preserve, it's pretty straightforward. Parking lot, paved trails, stormwater management, and the access to the road.
What's stormwater management?
Donovan.
Not advanced. So that's stormwater swales to capture stormwater. And I don't know if there's,
Cement pond? Huh?
no, it's a
No.
grass.
Well, no, there's swales and basins to collect. Anytime you add it, and this is all gonna be discussed on the 20th,
I
so,
can't be there, but my husband. will.
okay. That's okay. Anytime you increase what we call impervious area on a property, pavement, concrete, you have to manage the stormwater so that it's not flooding out everything downstream. So there are measures that we install to do that.
Dave Tustin, 1159 Namens Creek Road. Quick question. I know about impervious. question I have, I think, Ococking over in Newtown, they have a preserve over there as well. They didn't pave it, right? What they did is they have crushed gravel for the driving, which is not impervious.
It still is though.
Well,
When you're
it's-
walking on it and driving on it, it's counted as the same for stormwater.
Well,
And it's a
anyway,
maintenance nightmare.
anyway, I guess the deal is they've done it probably a lot cheaper on the maintenance side. Can we try to think about that in the first, I mean, you could do this in phases. You put the gravel down, right? And guess what? That's your base for your paving sometime in the future when we have money.
We did look at it, but because of the grade of that property, because I don't know if you've ever been there, but it does all kind of slope down to the creek.
So guess what? I bet that's not ADA accessible, so I would not worry about that. I doubt you're gonna have people in wheelchairs trying to get out and roll down the hill. Probably not, but, right? So I
It
would,
will be ADA accessible.
so if you do that, it's gonna be super expensive, right? Because you have to level stuff out, you're gonna have to have steps down. Are we really required to do that for the park? Then I would just say scratch it and don't do it. Right? It's a nice preserve, nice land preserve. Let's not put any, if you even put a parking lot on there, well, I mean, they can park, if somebody wants to go run through the woods, they can park along the road in one of the developments over there. We don't have the money for it this year. I don't think we do. It just doesn't make sense. I think you defer it, in my opinion.
Supervisor D'Agostino, any other comments?
No, good. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Yes.
Cheryl Tustin, 1159 Names Creek Road. Yeah, I think if you don't have the money for something, they can't really spend it. So it seems like common sense to me. You don't have the money for it, delay it until you have the money. Or possibly bring it up to the township, ask for donations, and that's a thought. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would like that, would like to do that, would like to contribute to something like that. I know there's a whole thing going on, what's that, Bethelwood Preservation? Yeah. That's a whole thing going on. I just know all this stuff because my husband's on planning commission. And they're getting slammed like all the time. And the other thing that I would like to say is that, as far as salaries, when my husband was asked to do planning commission, which I don't even know how long ago that was, it was a long time ago. You know, he wasn't thinking about, he was so surprised. He's like, oh, I got this check for $200. He's tried to return it. They wouldn't let him return it. They wouldn't let it, he had to take it. So all I'm saying is that people on positions like this, which again, he's a deacon at our church, very responsible for the budget, very responsible for staying within the means that we have. And our church has always been either on budget or under budget. So I just think that, I mean, if this township was your own financial ledger, you know, how would you treat it? You know what I mean? Would you spend things that you couldn't spend and couldn't afford? Or would you spend what you can and defer certain things till later? That's what we've been in this district for what, 42 years? 42 years. So we've raised our kids here and we've always had a budget, you know, so it just seems to make sense. So yeah, our budget's a lot smaller than your budget, but just stay within the things that you can pay for now. Just makes so much more sense.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, I'd like to make a motion to advertise the proposed 2026 preliminary budget.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oppose.
I'd like to make a point that I'm opposing it because I think a pay raise violates the Pennsylvania Constitution. And we're committing over $450,000 of Bethel Township money to that part. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. On to the next item. This is a motion to renew the municipal pollution liability policy with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services in amount not to exceed $1,124, subject to solicitor's review.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This is a renewal of an existing policy that we currently have. I think Dr. Addison, the request was that we had to get this signed near term. That's why it's part of this agenda. Is that correct?
Yes. You sent that in March.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this from the board? From the public? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Go Birds.